everybody, welcome to Drinks and Demos. My name is Jeffrey Howard. I'm one of the co-founders of Project Spaces, and we're here with Ali and Dennon to talk about crowdfunding. And so Ali Zahid is the co-founder and COO of Vanhawks. For those of you that don't know, Vanhawks is the world's first connected commuter bicycle. They were part of Founders Fuel's Spring 2014 cohort, raised over $820,000 on Kickstarter immediately after that, then were accepted into Y Combinator's Winter 2015 cohort, and a few months ago raised a $1.6 million seed round. Ali, it's been a busy time for you.
Yeah, man. To say the least.
Is there anything I was missing there? What is Vanhawks?
So Vanhawks on the forefront is a bike of the future, essentially. So we made the world's first connected bike, but on the back end, essentially, we are the operating system for our bikes of the future. So think of us as the Microsoft in the good old days when Microsoft was making DOS for all the machines. We're making DOS for all the bikes of the future, essentially. And that's what we do. We're the software layer for bikes.
I like it. And then we have Dennon Oosterman, the co-founder and CEO of ReDeTec. Slogan, are you ready? ReDeTec designs and produces premium sustainable design tools. Their flagship product is the Protocycler, which allows makers to recycle 3D printer filament with the push of a button. And earlier this year, you guys raised, what was it, $102,000 on Indiegogo? That was $102,000 US, so that's probably even more Canadian.
Absolutely. It was, at the time, the exchange rate was great, so it was close to like 135 or something Canadian, which was really nice.
That's good. I like it. And so what's your quick background story?
UBC engineer. We love 3D printing. We couldn't afford to keep 3D printing. We generated a lot of waste. Decided, hey, there's a lot of garbage in those bins. What if we can reuse that as more ink for our 3D printer? People kept asking us, hey, I want that. Can you sell it to us? And no, it's just for us. It's just for us. And it got to the point that literally everyone was saying, I want that. Decided to start a company around it.
Completely makes sense. Okay, so you guys have each, you have some street cred. You've each raised, a lot of money on crowdfunding campaigns. Presumably, you know what you're doing. There's, I say presumably because, I think you just try not to make the same mistake twice and just move really fast and smile. And there's, probably folks in the audience today that actually want to know, they're thinking of a product, is crowdfunding right for them? So we want to explore the life cycle of a crowdfunding campaign, go through the various, steps that you went through, because I assume for each of you this was your first crowdfunding campaign. And so, maybe we can, share some knowledge, any tips you might have. So first of all, you were on Kickstarter, Ali. Dennon, you were on Indiegogo. Why did you go with Indiegogo?
Because Ali told me to. I'm mostly being serious, actually. When we first decided our campaign, we were hell-bent on Kickstarter. No matter what happened, we're doing Kickstarter. 3D printers and Kickstarter are so synonymous that it seems every day now there's a new one there. We figured the market, the community, the exposure, all of that, how could Indiegogo possibly hold a candle to it? But we worked with the Mars Discovery District, and they got a partnership with Indiegogo and said, hey, meet with them, give them a shot. As our advisor said, because they're not first, they have to try harder, and they certainly did. I met with their tech lead, Steve Tam, and he mentioned, when we sat down, I said, there's no way in hell you're going to convince me to do Indiegogo. We're doing Kickstarter for sure. And over the course of the time he worked with them, he put me in touch with Ali, a few other people that had done Kickstarters and had things to say about why Indiegogo might be a better choice for us and other people as well, and really kind of said what the difference was. When we first started thinking the campaign, we just figured 3D printing is on Kickstarter, that's where we should be. But it turns out it's a lot more involved than that to run a campaign. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot you need to know, tons of stuff that you don't even think about when you first think, I'm going to raise some money and try and make this a real thing. And after speaking with a lot of those people, it became clear to us that Indiegogo was the right choice.
How do you know when your product's ready for it? Because I think I was going through like Indiegogo or Kickstarter. I think on Kickstarter I see more film stuff, but it seems like almost like sometimes pipe dreams. People are like, oh, I want to make this film, I need to go raise some money, make it happen. You, Ali, you had an idea for a bicycle. I think you had a frame. So for those of you that don't know, Ali was, and his team were members at Project Rhino in our summer 2013 cohort. We're not actually an accelerator, but I'm going to pretend we are because you guys are really successful now, and that's awesome. But you literally just had a carbon fiber frame bicycle, a carbon fiber frame. There weren't even wheels on it, or like handles or anything. How do you go from that to actually knowing when your product's ready to run a crowdfunding campaign?
So we were kind of a weird story. So as Jeff is saying, is like we were sitting in Project Rhino. No one was giving us money. I had my tuition fee money paying for Project Rhino. That's what I was using it for because I dropped out. So that was the only money I had left. Was like the year's money left from OSAP, and I'm paying Jeff for that. It's kind of weird not thinking about that. But yeah, so we got our first ever investment with Vanhawks for $50,000. And they were like, hey, you guys have 3 months, you guys gotta launch and prove there's product market fit. And we're like, well, holy shit, 3 months, hardware product, which is just not hardware, software, and everything combined, it's gonna be a massive, it takes at least 2 years for any bike company to do it. You want us to do it in a month and launch, it gets crazy. And they're like, no, you guys are gonna do it. So, yeah, we just I situated, so it was a team of 4. 3 guys kept working on product. I kind of left the company in a way that my full job was Kickstarter. And you'll never know when you're ready to launch a product on Kickstarter. If you know that you're ready, I think you're a bit too late. So the earlier it is, the better it is. Like if we launch now, I think like it would be way too late for us, and we're about to ship. So it proves a lot of things for you. So first, it proves if there's a market for it. Second, it gets you more money coming in to build the product. Third, it attracts VCs, which is one of the most important things. 4, it attracts the best talent that you can get. So without that talent, we could have never finished this product that we have now in-house. And yeah, so when it's just like software, right? Like they tell you just launch it. It doesn't matter if it's crap. If it's crap, that's good. It's the same thing with hardware on Kickstarter. If it's crap, it's good. Because those are the people who really believe in you and really want to back you. Because the mentality with Kickstarter backers is that they are your investors and not your customers. And that's kind of crazy mentality that, whenever they send me an email, they're like, no, I don't give a shit, I'm your investor. And I'm just like, no, man, you just bought a bike. So sometimes it kind of gets annoying, but it's fine because I really, 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 really value those people because without them, we would never be here. And they all have my personal cell phone number. If you ever get an update from us on our Kickstarter, you will literally get my 613 phone number. And that's my phone number from Queens. I never changed it. And I get calls at 4 in the morning.
I feel, Dennon, that you launched your campaign at a very different time. You'd been toiling away for probably like 3.5 years, and you actually knew what your product was. You knew you could actually ship all of them. You had a working prototype. Like, it was fully working.
Yeah, I agree with Ali that, and as someone very eloquently said, if you've launched your product and you're not completely embarrassed by it, you launched too late.
I believe that was Reid Hoffman.
Potentially, yeah. It was actually. And it's true, you need to move quickly in any business. And we probably took about as long as we possibly could have without launching too late. Because for us, it was always from the start something we wanted to make work. And as more and more people asked, can I have this, okay, maybe we were kind of dragged along instead of, launching forward. And to us, we wanted to be very sure in our marketplace, 3D printing on Kickstarter, there's been so many failures. And it's getting to the point now that people have lost faith, kind of. And there's so many pipe dreams, as you say, particularly in the 3D printing space. But we wanted to, both know ourselves and know that we could present to our backers that no, we're not like that. We're not, we have this idea, please help us try and turn it into reality. We have a working product, do you want one? And for us, it was very important to know that we could fulfill our backer requirements before we even launched, to have that working prototype, to have all of those things. Now, it was not a pretty prototype. It was not in any way, ready to go, if you will, but we knew that if we had the goal, if we raised the amount, we'd done the math, if it came down to the 3 of us working endless nights in the basement, we would definitely get it done, because we really didn't want to be yet another one of the, pipe dreams, as you say.
Well, because what you told me, we were having some snacks earlier, something like what percentage of projects never actually ship, like on time, or like even after a year after they say they're going to ship?
Yeah, I think it's something like on Kickstarter and 3D printing, something like 80% of projects ship over a year after they promise they will. And to us, that in the market that we're in, it's so much happens in a year. I mean, you think a year ago in 3D printing, not many people knew what it was. 2 years ago, you'd say 3D printing people look like you were crazy. And today, it's everyone. Even if they've never seen it, they at least know what the concept is. And to be that late after people have put that much faith in you, and maybe to deliver a product that doesn't actually work in the end, any of those things, it can be good for a quick money raise and a proof of concept, but we really wanted to turn it into a company, not just a project or a crowdfund campaign. We wanted to take it and kind of run with it, and we knew that would require us to continue our success, to not just have this big blow-up figure and then 3 years no one's heard from us, we haven't done anything. We had to actually meet the customer's demand and say what we promised. So it was very important for us to do that.
So it seems like there's a lot of planning that goes into these campaigns. Ali, from the moment you knew you were going to crowdfund, what work actually went into before the day you said? I remember the day that your campaign launched. We were on the rooftop at Spoke, having some beers, reminiscent of the olden days. So what kind of work goes into launching a campaign properly?
I don't know, then what kind of work goes in?
Too much.
So the way I kind of explain it, like Kickstarter became a religion for 3 months. If you open up my laptop till now and go on Chrome, that's like my homepage. And I just kind of like, I said like, I was laser focused. I was like, one thing I'm going to do really well in my life is like run this goddamn Kickstarter so fucking well that I'm the best at it in Canada. And the way I kind of did it was I kind of built it backwards. So I said like, hey, for most of my life, I've been a salesperson. I've done door-to-door sales most of my life. And if you guys ever had a door-to-door guy come to your door, you're just like, fuck off, like, we're trying to eat food. Most of the time, that was like me. And I made my tuition fee money off that, and that's how I paid my, education. So I was really good at it. And now, if I like hit like 100 homes, I would close 10 of them because I had a good conversion rate of about 10%. So I scaled that, and I was like, 1,000 people, I'm going to close at least 100 of them that will turn into my backers. And where the hell do I find this 1,000 people? Second year, I was going to consulting work. I was getting recruited by McKinsey, Bain, and BCG, all of those guys.
Just tiny consulting players, no big deal.
Yeah, like, whatever. It's just like a boring job, right? Like, for me, that was it. And I became good friends with their partners and associates. And I used to go in and I was like, hey, can I just talk to you? Like, what's up? Like, I know you're making good money. You live in downtowns. I know some of you ride. And I used to just talk to them. And that's how I did customer interviews. And that's how we developed their product. And most of the conversation used to end with me putting out a square reader in front of them. I was like, can I have your credit card? I'm going to make a sale here right now. And if they used to give me the credit card, I was like, yep, they're going to buy it. And I had at least 100 of those. And within 36 hours of our campaign, we had reached a goal of $100,000 because of that. And it was a lot of hustle. It took me 3 months. I have 1,000 people's pictures in my Dropbox who have no clue who the hell they are. But every time I used to do a customer interview, I used to take a picture of them and put them on the wall that this guy's going to buy my bike. And that's how we did it. We also had a PR agency. I had 2 of them working side by side. They hated me by the end of it because never hire 2 PR agencies to do your work because they collide. And yeah, that's how we ran it.
So I've heard that the video is incredibly important, and I think you spent a lot of time on your video, Dennon. Tell me about your video experience.
Yeah, well, everyone we asked, and certainly we did a lot of asking. We asked Ali, we asked the guys at Indiegogo, we asked other people who had run campaigns. Really anyone we could possibly get advice from. We asked, how do we do this? Because we had no idea. We did not come from a marketing or sales background, did not have that hustle, any of that stuff. And the 2 universal things was, the first kind of echoing Ali's point, you need to have some pre-sales lined up. You cannot launch the campaign and just hope people will show up. Within those first 36 hours, we've been told the absolute minimum for success is a third. And if you want to blow it out of the park, it's to get your goal, as they did. But the other thing we heard was that you needed a good video. Okay, well, what does a good video mean? It probably means good production value. You put a lot of time into it. It's very professional. doesn't look like we're one of those other 3D printing Kickstarters that's two guys in a basement. We look like a real company, all of that. And so we spent a lot of time vetting different people for the videos, paying a lot of money for the videos, etc. And in the end, it kind of backfired because our market, the maker community, the 3D printing guys, didn't want to see a faceless corporation. They wanted to see us in our basement or our garage or whatever, hacking away on this thing that we'd made. And so our Kickstarter video, which cost way too much money, took way too long to film, ended up being a bit of a scandal in the end, but I won't get into that too much. It was all bad. We got flack for it on Reddit. Everyone was like, okay, who is this actor talking about your product? Why aren't you there saying anything? All this stuff. And 2/3 of the way through the campaign, we decided, screw it, let's whip out our cell phones and just shoot ourselves in the lab making the thing work. And that was a huge boost to our campaign, actually. And it's probably 1/3 of our sales in the end came from the personal videos. And so really what it comes down to is a good video doesn't mean one that is expensive and fancy and nice. It's one that really represents your brand appropriately to your market.
How do you decide, Ali, what types of perks to have? Because I know I could have just helped you guys out. I could have bought a t-shirt. I could have bought 12 bikes. It seemed to me that you had a perk for every price point.
So the people over here who buy shirts, stickers, posters, can you please stop doing that? It's the most annoying thing for the Kickstarter backer. It took me 3 months to fulfill them, a lot of time. I didn't make shit money on it. I probably made $10. That in the end, all the founders are now to eat food on. Your bread and butter is your product, right? That's the only thing you want to sell. Everything else is a distraction, and that's what we figured when we finished it. That holy shit, I've sold 30 hoodies, 50 shirts, 10 posters. Who the hell are gonna make these things, right? And then you gotta ship them too. I've never done that kind of crap. And I don't want to do it. It's not my core business. It's a massive distraction. But our investors are no, think of it as a brand recognition and stuff like that. But to me, that's all bullshit. It's just man, it's a lot of time spent. There's not enough ROI, and it's not your core product. As a startup, you gotta be crazy focused, right? And that's the one thing that we learned out of it, that just put your product up there. The bike that we sold for $1,000 is now look back, is the best price you can ever pay for a bike in the market ever. Ever. In the whole history of bike markets. It's crazy because when we were talking to our factory, they just looked at us, they're you guys are fucking crazy for putting that price point. Because it broke the market, right? I don't know if you guys know any anti-dumping laws or anything. We went to China to make our bike, and we got hit by anti-dumping laws for that reason, because once you ship out of China into Europe or North America, they're no, this product is way too cheap, it's going to break the whole market in these two, in the European states and North America, so we're going to put 100% tax on top of this price. So we had to work a lot around that, and it's just interesting stuff I never knew or experienced that we learned really fast.
Dennon, how did you come up with your pricing for your protocyclist?
I argued with the other half of my team endlessly. I wanted it lower so we'd sell more. They wanted it higher so we'd make more money off each. We went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and we ended up settling on what we felt was kind of the minimum price to comfortably, definitely, not make a big profit off it, but not, die from it either. And we didn't do any of the perks like t-shirts, etc., whatever, based on Ali's advice. And actually, when you're at Autodesk University, I believe the founder of Crowdfunding said the exact same thing. And everyone else, Indiegogo, Mars, but no, you need t-shirts, you need the small perks. The campaigns that have those are so much more successful. But the people that actually knew what was going on, that had done it, said no, avoid at all costs, sell your product. That's what you're doing. You're trying to sell your product, not get out t-shirts. Who's going to design the t-shirt? Who's going to make the t-shirt? How are you going to ship the t-shirts? All those questions that really, when you're trying to start a business, you just don't have time to answer.
Actually, they sound like the same types of questions, once you've raised all of the money you want, where are you going to build the product? Where are you going to make it? Manufacture it? How are you going to ship? So tell me about what happens
again, though. The first set of them is tough enough to deal with.
On a time, you should have just used Teespring.
Exactly.
So what happens after? Ali, your campaign closes, $820,000 just gets like transferred to your account. First of all, how long did that take?
So when we were on it, it was Amazon Pay. We saw a lot of credit card decline because not a lot of people are used to buying $1,000 bike. So I had to hopelessly beg them. They're like, holy shit, your credit card bounced. And they're like, yeah, no shit, it's $1,000. So for a month after that, like that was my job, getting on the phone with them and be like, yo, what's up? You bought this thing, your credit card bounced, call your bank right now, otherwise you're not going to be able to get the product. It took a month and a half for us to get the money in our account, and that's the most amount of money I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just like, holy shit. And then after that, like all the co-founders let go of doing any of the product, and we knew in order to build an amazing fucking company in Canada, we needed to have the best people in the world. So we all became like headhunters and recruiters. We put down a list of people that were our dream people that we wanted to hire. So one of the companies that we really love is Cervelo, which is, I don't know how many bikers are here. Cervelo is like the Porsche of bikes. And we wanted to bring them in, pretty much hire the chief of design. And he sent us an email by, I don't know how, and he was like, congratulations, awesome bike. And my brother, who's the CEO, he's like, I'm going to hire this guy. And I'm just like, you're crazy. You're not going to be able to hire him. And we ended up hiring him as a chief of design. And that kind of trickled down and kept bringing us like awesome people. So we hired a lot of people from IBM, from the fabrication house called Semtech, and it just kind of kept rolling on that. And that made us build a team of 20 people. And in the midst of that, we were at seed round, we went to Y Combinator. But one of the main things that we always cared about was bringing in awesome people into the company. In the middle, you go to Taiwan, you put your bomb down, it's a lot of things that happen in the middle, but main thing that we were focused on was bringing the people to help us finish the product that we had started. Because when we finished our Kickstarter campaign to the product now that we have, it's like 10,000 times different. It's like honestly like a brand new product. And that's what happens, because like you get money, you can hire awesome people to keep building the dream that you had. And when we went out, the bomb just changed. Whatever prices that we projected just changed. We learned about shipping, big boxes. We learned about anti-dumping laws. We learned about Taiwan. We learned about shit that you never even think about. And once you start learning it, you're just like, all right, I got this problem. How do I fix it? I got this problem. How do I fix it? And we ended up hiring 3 guys that live full time in Taiwan now, because that was the cheapest way. And yeah, from there on till now, we're shipping July 15 now. We have this thing in our office, 60 days left, and it's the most nerve-wracking thing in the world. But it's exciting. It feels back like we're in the early days of running a startup again.
So shipping July 15th, how late is that?
So we promised last November, I think. I don't even know, man. We were pretty honest with our backers. Every month we have a Google Hangout with them. So we put all of the founders and all of the team together in front of a camera. A hack that we have found, we just walk to Staples, buy the most expensive camera, do the Google Hangout, and return the camera. Just because we're cheap. But yeah, that brings in around 200 people every single time the Google Hangout happens. And we're very honest. We're like, this is the problem that we face. We didn't really think about DFM, which is design for manufacturing. Our factory came back and changed the whole product, and we were like, well, fuck, this is not what we want to build. And it kept happening, over and over and over. One thing we totally forgot was waterproofing. You're supposed to bike when it's raining outside. And when you have electronics inside of a bike, it can short circuit. And 2 months ago, my designers come up to me, they're like, yeah, we need a waterproof this thing. I was like, oh, shit. And you spend $50,000 in these little tiny plastic things to waterproof a thing that you never even thought about. So a lot of these things that just come up, but that's why I live and breathe this thing, because it's so exciting. If I was doing any other job, I would be really bored.
Dennon, how late are you on shipping your product?
As of right now, we're expecting to ship roughly 1 month late.
Why?
Our main motors have started. We're in endurance testing right now, and they are not. passing muster, to put it lightly. They're failing pretty quickly.
So tell me about the manufacturing process from what you thought it would be to what it is today.
Yeah, 10,000 times different sums it up pretty well. And I suspect by the time we finally ship our product, probably not a single piece that we launched the campaign with will actually still be in it, except maybe the microcontroller. It's so many changes happen, and you get, for us post-campaign, a flood of kind of, I guess, outsourced interest. So we didn't bring people on, but we got so many people, at manufacturing firms or fulfillment firms or whatever, saying, hey, I think what you're doing is great, we'd love to help you out, maybe give you a discount, work with you pro bono for a while to get you up and running and then sign a contract kind of thing. And it's, we planned, again, safely and cautiously. Like, if it comes down to it, we'll make the whole thing. So our design at the time was something that could be mass manufactured-ish, but could also be, one-off manufactured. And post-campaign, the fact that sales kept rolling in, and we kept getting demand, and we kept getting interest, and we kept finding partners, it's definitely starting to change. We're trying our absolute hardest to avoid scope creep, adding new things and changing more and more. We just want to get our product out on time as much as we can. But inevitably things come up. And I
You
think
need the feature machete.
exactly. You have to have it. It's really exciting once all these people want your product, and what if we did this? I bet even more people would want it. But you have to just, no, this is V1. We'll get it out. If it goes well, then we can think of V2. We're lucky we don't have to deal with waterproofing or stuff, but UL, we're getting UL safety certified. It's very important to us to be in classrooms, and that means a lot. But when we first designed it, it was a hand-cranked grinder, the thing that takes your water bottles, whatever, and shreds them up. It was hand-cranked specifically because then you would literally have to grind your own hand off actively. You couldn't just push a button and, it's stuck, and now And how could that possibly not be safe? But we went to them and they said, no, someone might want to actually grind their hand off. That's not safety certifiable. And that was thankfully right before we launched, and actually delayed our launch by a good month or two, because we had to completely redesign the whole grinder. Now you cannot access it and turn it at the same time, which is still ridiculous to me. But ultimately, it becomes a completely different product, both because you have the talent and now the resources to make that dream really come true, and because the customers have spoken, if you will. You think that the ideal version is this, but it actually ends up being over here a little bit, and that's one of the best parts, and for us one of the most important parts of the campaign was getting that feedback. We thought people would want something that did A, B, and C, and it turns out that A and B are great, but they actually want D instead of C, and if every single person says that, well, you got to change it so it does D. And I think everyone that backs a campaign expects it to be a little bit behind. No one's ever perfect, and you can do all the pre-planning and in the world, but ultimately, if you set yourself a lax timeline, well, then you'll just take even longer to miss it, kind of thing. You want to be as tight and aggressive as possible, with the expectation that you will fall a little bit, and hopefully not, a couple of years behind.
This all sounds so complicated. The whole crowdfunding thing seems like the easy part compared to what happens after.
Yeah,
so absolutely.
Absolutely is.
I think you're both trying to build very large, lasting companies. So 2 closing thoughts from each of you. Dennon, where is ReDeTec in 5 years? What are you doing? What's next after the protocycler? And you have one piece of advice for someone gearing up to launch their own crowdfunding campaign.
5 years, that's tough. We've only planned for 3. I think for us, it's really the educational market is the key cornerstone. I mean, that's where the idea really came from when we were at university. And we think that the ROI for schools, the ability to give kids of any age to make whatever they want out of recycled stuff. You don't have to teach them about reduce, recycle. They, ultimately, hopefully, grow up knowing that water bottle, that shopping bag, that's in for my 3D printer. I can make a toy out of that, or my school project, fix something around the house, whatever you want. And so in 5 years, I think we, along with some of our partners in Southern Ontario in the 3D printing field, would like to have made that kind of a staple of the curriculum. That's when everyone learns how life works. And if you grow up with 3D printing and recycling and all of those things, you learn to expect it. And I really do believe that turning garbage into anything you can think of is pretty awesome and something that can really push the world forward. So in 5 years, I think we'd like to be in as many schools as we can. Closing thought for people wanting to do their own campaign. No matter how many people, including myself, tell you it's going to be endless work and a nightmare, it's going to be so much worse than you expect. It is non-stop. As Ali said, for 6 months, you will get calls at 4 or 5 a.m. from everyone. You will not do anything other than eat, breathe, and sleep the campaign. And then as soon as it's over, it's 10 times worse. So good luck, and make sure it's something you really want to do, even if you don't ever make a cent from it, because if you don't, you're not going to succeed.
And you can imagine what your question is going to be, Ali. So what do you think of this Greece debt situation? No.
Hey.
Where's Vanhawks going? The bike is just beginning. You've told me about an operating system. Tell me what you told all those folks out at YC. What you told your seed investors. What's the future look like?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting world, right? Like what we live in is like we're really lucky folks out here. Like shit. I was talking to my dad the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, I didn't even know what the hell a computer was in my time." And the experiment that all the founders kind of carried out was like, what will the world look like 100 years if there was internet already there? And that got us really exciting. So what we kind of said was like, we want to be able to get up in any conference or anywhere and say 3 out of the 5 bikes in the world are powered by us. That kind of blows my mind even to think about that 3 out of 5 bikes will be powered by us. There's 60 billion bikes out there. Like, holy shit, that's a lot of bikes that we want to power. And what will that do is like, we will intake the amount of data that no one else even thought about. And what we can do with that is like pretty much build a series of the future. I can tell you where people are biking, which is a good road, which is a bad road, how many people are hitting a pothole. Because if you really think about it, cars are going to go obsolete. It's inevitable. It's just in a matter of time that, people are not going to be driving cars. It's either going to be Uber, self-driving car, or something else. The way we kind of see the world right now is like, the bottom of the triangle is cars, buses, then biking, and then walking. That triangle is going to switch on its head, where walking is going to be the main way people get around, and it's going to be biking, and then it's going to be buses, and maybe cars on the top. And that's the dream that we're selling. And what's the reality of it? It's going to happen. There's no matter if it's not. It's just a fact that who the hell is going to do it? And the reality is that we are going to do it because we're the only one who's freaking at it. And who's at it like that, it's a religion that no one else can beat us to it. And that's what's really exciting for me personally, because I'm just 21 and I've got my whole life to live this dream. I will drink this Kool-Aid until it dries out.
Absolutely.
Wow, you can hear the passion in his voice there. And you have a tip for anyone launching their own campaign?
As Dennon said, man, like it's hard. Trust me, that's the only time in my life where I turned off vibrating mode in my phone, because your phone will literally go off every single second. I remember one of my friends, he took my phone and he's like, let me show you something. You can turn off vibration on your phone, because literally my phone was like beep, 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 beep. And you kind of get addicted to it because you see a sale, you're like, oh, sale, oh, sale, oh. And then you kind of forget the reality of what you're actually doing is a lot bigger, and you get scoped into this little thing. So know that what you're doing is going to be something massive, and you can get your whole life behind this. Because as Dennon said, like you're probably not going to make shit all. You probably messed up all the projections. I can guarantee you that. There's no person out there that was smart enough to say that a bomb is going to look X, Y, and Z. Because once you go to the factories, like literally a day before you put in your PO, they'll be like, oh, 10% more because the way we're going to handle your orders is too complicated. It's because there's too many SKUs. And you're like, what the fuck? Are you going to charge me 10% more on my bomb just because I have too many SKUs? Where were you when we started this conversation? So make sure that what you're in it is in it for the good long term, and you really believe in what you're doing, because otherwise you will dry out really fast. Yeah. And the reality is, at the top of my our campaign, I was so frustrated that I wanted to quit. And if you really think about it, that's a time when everyone's like, really high, like I am like the best of my time. But no, it was the worst of my life. I was so frustrated, I wanted to quit my job and I wanted to leave. And they kind of got me convincing that like, hey, what everyone thinks is the top is actually the bottom for me. Be in it for the long term, project for the long term, and really dream about the future that you want to build, because that's a future that's actually going to happen. And that's crazy to me that like, me and Dan are sitting out here and I'm saying that like, I'm going to be able to build the cities of the future, and he's saying that I'm going to change the education system in the long time. These are the people that we need in this world to actually make those things happen. And that's what's really exciting about what we do every single day. And that's what you kind of need to keep going in this crazy entrepreneurship thing that we think we do. Because the reality is we have no fucking clue what we do.
All right, some wise words from some wise guys. Dennon, Ali, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Big round of applause for that.
I need